big day for golf and for Tiger Woods. 6 weeks ago, he gave a very controlled press conference, his first since his sex scandal made headlines. Today, Woods will hold a second press conference, but this time it will be open to questions from reporters.
Good morning.
How will he do? Joining us now from Orlando is Kelly Tilghman of the Golf Channel, one of only 2 reporters to interview Woods a couple of weeks ago, and from Detroit, author and columnist Mitch Albom. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Morning.
Kelly, let me start with you. Do you really anticipate Tiger Woods is going to say much more than he had to say to you just a couple of weeks ago?
I think he'll probably have similar answers because we shot the gamut in the short time that we had. We were able to get in some 20-plus questions with him, so you might have heard some of the main topics that will be covered, but I'm sure with this more open forum here and a lot more questions coming from different reporters, they'll go a lot deeper in some other areas.
It's interesting, though, because he had certain boundary lines that he basically cordoned off and said, you can ask, but I'm not really going to have a conversation with you about it. Don't you anticipate it'll be like that later on this afternoon?
Well, that's the Tiger Woods we've known ever since he set foot on the world stage. He has always been very private, even as it related to his workout. For years, we couldn't even find out if he was bench pressing, let alone the details of his marriage between him and Elin. So obviously, this is the man we all know.
Yeah. Mitch, let me ask you, this is such an interesting confluence of sport and scandal. I'm not sure I remember anything as widely anticipated in terms of a news conference as what's happening later on today.
Well, I guess because the Tiger hasn't been readily available up till now, but there have been a lot of things like this, Harry, in the past. In New York, where you are, Alex Rodriguez pretty much went through a similar thing. It was headlines everywhere. There was stories of him cheating on his wife, strippers. There was a divorce. There were children involved. And here we saw Alex Rodriguez celebrated as a champion last year with the New York Yankees. So these things always feel red hot, but they tend to cool down.
In the moment, I guess we really do think, well, we've never seen anything quite like this before. Can we talk about golf for a couple of minutes? We had Nick Faldo on earlier. He was talking about the difficulty of playing the Masters just under any circumstances. How much more pressure, Mitch, is on Tiger Woods when he gets ready to tee up the ball on Thursday?
Well, I think people sometimes think that all Tiger Woods has to do is step out there and he's going to win the golf tournament. And, you know, he hasn't won this thing in 5 years. He didn't win any majors last year. It's always tough for him to step out there or anybody else to try to win the Masters. It is a pretty controlled environment. I mean, considering sports, I mentioned Alex Rodriguez, he could come up to bat with all these similar things in the background and have to hear it from the fans in the stands yelling and screaming. Golf, you're not even allowed to whisper, and especially at Augusta, they'll be very controlled. I don't think Tiger's going to hear a lot of noise, so anything that might interrupt his concentration might be from his own head, and he's proven over time to be pretty good at compartmentalizing. I would imagine he would have had to be pretty good at compartmentalizing everything that led up to this to lead the life that he was living before.
I guess you're right. Kelly, let me ask you this. In terms of the golf itself, what is the anticipation about how he might play?
Well, I think he's spoiled us in the past, coming back from long layoffs, whether it be physical injury or emotional heartbreak from the loss of his father in 2006. He did miss the cut at Winged Foot coming back after his dad passed away, but it wasn't too many weeks later that he won a major championship at the British Open. So obviously he's pretty good in this sense. Now, this is a process of a different kind, a comeback of a different kind, but he's done so well in years past. I've always said he eats pressure for breakfast, competition for lunch. He has records for dinner, and he's still hungry for more. So this is a guy that's unlike anything we've ever seen before.
I think that's right. Mitch Albom and Kelly Tilghman, thank you both for your insight today. We do very much appreciate it.
A lot happens early on The Early Show, weekday mornings on CBS.